Good evening. My name is Bill Fredericks, chairperson for the Sutton Board of Health. And we're gonna open the meeting at, I have 7 o'clock. This meeting is recorded per laws of Massachusetts. And we're gonna open with local upgrade and variances, 382 West Sutton Road, Stephen LaFleur. That's you?
Yes.
Step right up.
So I'm here to request a variance on my property where I intend to build a house. That my septic system be located less than 100 feet and greater than 50 feet from wetlands.
That's this one?
Yes.
That's a couple down from the cemetery, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And where's the,
Wetlands here, and then you go.
That's a river where your pen is right there.
Yeah,
right
the,
there.
the
Yeah.
Mumford, right? And, the residence.
Let you 100-foot swing there. That's really the only spot that's sticking up there. So it's just wetlands.
How much less, are we looking at?
So you're in the, you should show the 50. So it's a 100-foot buffer. What's he asking for? Did he put on here the measurement?
I think I highlighted his request.
The waiver request for SAS?
Yeah, it's less than 100, but that's all it says.
How much is it? Is it 2 or is it 99?
It looks like, how big's the field?
I believe it meets Title V, so
It's 30 feet. The whole field's 30 feet long, so that's about 10 feet into it. So it looks like it's about 20, 25 feet into it. So it's about 75 feet.
75? We've done that before, so we'll go with that?
Yeah. So it's. Are you alright with that?
You okay
Yes,
with
I
it?
make a motion to approve that, just contingent upon the plan being reviewed and approved by our
Yes.
agent, and obviously the conservation and so on and so forth.
Okay. The other thing I request that you do is based upon your decision tonight, your tentative decision tonight, is if you could send an email or something to the woman at the Conservation Commission. That's what they requested at the last meeting. My meeting is next Wednesday with them. Hopefully my final meeting to get this entire thing approved. It'll be my 6th meeting with the Conservation Commission, and it's gonna be the last. And they wanted to know if you guys were okay with this.
Right,
If
yeah,
you could
well,
do that.
I can do that.
yeah, have,
Margaret might have the plan approved by then anyway, so
Yeah.
I'll give her a few days. She took the plan already, and she was gonna work on it
Yes.
this weekend, so you might have a full approval
Yeah.
prior to your meeting.
The last meeting, they're gonna vote on the whole thing. We got our
Just gonna ask
PPC number, we got everything, but they said, what about this?
she did.
Yeah,
And
Oh, she did?
I said, if you do get a tentative approval based upon it, you just send it over. They would know that, she would know that.
yeah,
Okay?
yeah.
That'd be great.
Okay.
All set?
All set.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Quick and easy.
Did you sign in over
I
there?
did.
Thank you.
Thank you.
351 West Sutton Road.
They don't need to come, because Margaret is reviewing it, and I guess you granted Margaret the okay to
Yep.
approve those, so,
Yep.
Okay.
that one's off.
Mr. Mong,
Yes,
we're back. What's going on?
What'd you make out?
I did, as I told you, would go meet with my neighbor to discuss the flooding, runoff and erosion. And we did sit down, I brought him a copy of his own septic system and design, and explained that his runoff was basically impacting my system real bad. I'd like to come to closure, and I said, have you given any thought about putting in a trench? He said, yeah, I don't want one. I said, that doesn't resolve the fact of your water is running off of your property and flooding my property. I said, have to come to some sort of closure. And I said, obviously, it's gonna look like I will need a new system. And his suggestion was, why don't you talk to your engineer and have him put a trench in your side so I don't have to look at it. I said, that's not gonna help me. I said, I have to stop this water. And he said, you got my letter. I don't know if I shared the letter with you last time.
No.
No.
This letter is from his insurance company.
I'll read it out. Dear Mr. Mong, this comes
Oh.
from,
The name?
Mung.
I think so.
We have now completed the investigation regarding the claim that was reported by our insured, Robert Fink. The investigation reveals that our insured is not legally liable for this loss. The evidence indicates that the water runoff into the property is an act of nature. Unfortunately, based on this information, we'll be unable to process a claim for this incident. Of course, should you come across any additional evidence, blah, blah, blah. This is from the insurance company though, so, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
Ba-
So-
Basically, you showed us pictures of the water runoff from his driveway coming down and flooding out your system. It can't do that. Did that cause your system to go in failure? Who knows? We're not gonna play that game. But he can't have shedding water going over your septic system causing problems that way. He needs to resolve that. So I think as a board, we have him come to a meeting and at least let him know that he can't have the water shedding onto that guy's septic system.
Well,
Did Margaret go back out there? Wasn't she gonna go back out once it was a little
She
drier?
witnessed it shedding it on there.
Yeah.
The question he was saying is did that fail the system? That's a whole
Right.
nother question. We need to stop the water from shedding on his property.
Has it gotten any,
my concern was not groundwater, water table. It was the flooding.
Right.
So I had John Maderas come down from Andrews.
Yeah.
He's coming up with a proposal, and which I'm ready to sign and go forward because he said the runoff has definitely contributed to the failure of this system. Not totally,
Right.
but it has really, because
We're not doubting that. You can't, it's added unnecessarily water to your system. So it obviously your system can't handle that excessive water.
well, my next concern is the system that's gonna go in. I don't want this runoff to continue to affect the next system.
We understand that. So that's why we need to call him in and let him know he needs to address the runoff. You can't shed water onto your property.
Well, part of the problem was, when I first went to upgrade my property, the planning board, I had to sign a statement saying I will not have more than a two-bedroom home there, and if this system fails, then I would be required to put in a new system, which I totally agreed to.
Yeah.
But they're holding me with a provision, but they seem, property next door to me, they clear-cutted it, they elevated it between 0 to 8 feet to the top of that septic system. The water from the runoff, because the pitch still comes down the driveway and goes left onto my property. That was my issue, the runoff and flooding.
Wait, so when did it start? When he put the new septic system in or when he paved the driveway?
It started when they first, when they first started construction. Everything, I had pictures showing going in, we're both equal. Now this is 5 feet higher than my property, from the street down to the house. It's 5 foot difference, okay? John was with me the other day looking at at my property, and it was raining very heavily. And we walked up on the street, we stood there, and you could see the water starting to puddle at the end of that driveway. And he said, some provisions should have been made to protect the abutter's property.
Right.
Not saying who, when, where, or why, but something should have been done initially with construction, and it wasn't. But I wanna stop the flooding, so that's basically what I'm doing.
Right, so he needs to attempt to address it somehow or another, or sure, come up with a plan on how to address it. It can't, as a board of health, all we can tell him is that he can't flood your septic system out. As far as the grading of the lot and stuff, that's as far as building department and so on and so forth, who approved all that. Okay,
Okay.
but we can tell him he needs to address it so it's not flooding out your septic system anymore.
He won't listen to you. I even offered to pay half the price for this trench, and he just, I don't wanna have to look at it, put it on your side, I don't wanna look at it. I said, well,
I
that,
don't know what else we can do besides call him in and tell him he needs to address that. I mean, after that, I would think it would be a civil matter, unfortunately.
well, if it comes to civil matter, then what? I have to sue? What about the permission all boards gave Anderson to build with no provisions for the abutter's property?
That, I mean, without seeing his plans and his house plans and all that, so I don't know what was approved. I don't know if what went in was the way it was supposed to. I find it hard to believe that, you know, things wouldn't have been put on paper the way it was supposed to be done.
Okay?
Has it gotten any better since the weather let up?
Yeah, I have to pump it tomorrow,
So when was the last time you pumped it?
28 days ago. Because we had some heavy rains. That's what's happening.
Right. Have you had an inspection done on your system,
Any inspections
the Title V,
for what?
for your system to see if it's in the groundwater table?
It wasn't, my system was inspected by Helgeson. Okay,
What did Jeff say?
the tank was secure,
Yeah.
wasn't leaking.
But your leach field, the question is your leach field, since 1995 and newer, they changed the way that they logged groundwater, they changed all that information. So
Well-
basically, if your leach field itself is in the groundwater, especially this year when the water's been as high like we talked to you about before, it's gonna go into failure. That water coming down on top of it's gonna make it worse. All right, so we're not necessarily saying that it was his fault that your system went into failure. We don't know that. Unfortunately, you might not ever be able to know that.
The system is old.
I'm just trying to protect you moving forward. I mean, if it ends up going to that point, you're gonna have to prove that your system's not in the groundwater table.
I will put in the new system. I mean, I'm gonna go with it, okay? I don't know where else it can go, what you can do, or,
Will they end up raising his system?
Yeah,
More
his
likely.
your system's gonna end up being raised and mounded too, probably.
okay?
But that's all.
So
done,
you're gonna be shedding off your system. Your system's not gonna flood out again, but where's your water go from there?
Well,
So
it's
you're
gonna-
eventually, you both are gonna have a trough going someplace.
Well, my system, which of course is gonna be half, more than 50 feet from my well, closer to my house, and the water is coming up right from the street, gonna come right down that yard again. That's all I wanna prevent. So, okay?
Do you wanna, give it a shot to try to get,
Yeah, I mean, all we can do is
Never.
ask him to come in and see if we can have a discussion with him and see what his thoughts are and see if we can help you along with that process so it doesn't get to that point.
Um,
I mean, that's what we can do to offer to help you is,
Like I say, I offered to pay for half the trench, just to stop that flooding, and he said, I don't want one. Put it on your side so I don't have to look at it. Okay. That's the way you feel about it. When I picked up my paperwork to leave, he says, you look like you're upset. I said, I have all the right to be. I said, since November, it's cost me $4,000. Hasn't cost you a dime, and you don't wanna do anything to help me. My insurance company says I'm not liable. An act of God, yeah. You can't raise it 8 feet and tell me it's an act of God.
right?
Okay,
thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
thank you for listening to me.
Yeah, I wish we had a fail-safe way to
So how do we wanna leave it? Can we send him a letter, email, a phone call as far as to come in? And I mean, we can notify both of you. You can, I don't know if you wanna come in the same day or if you'd be better off just us.
It would be totally up to him though to come, right? We can't force him to come.
Can't force someone, he's, you know,
Right. We'll invite
we
him
can
and,
invite him and,
and try to discuss it, and then that's, I guess you could follow up with us after we try to get him to the next meeting. if
have him come to the
possible.
next meeting.
So you
see-
could check in with
To
Judy
see
or
if, you know,
check
he,
in.
we can resolve it between both parties, but that's not saying
How
one,
much is the
either or neither
trench?
party will
Do
show up.
Do you know how much the trench is, would be?
Maybe a couple grand.
Is that your goal, for him to put a trench, but on his
You
property?
don't wanna see it,
He doesn't wanna see it.
no.
Are you willing to put the trench on your property? And would that help?
If I kept it close to my property line, which I'm willing to put in, but I'm gonna rip out 25 hemlock trees.
Right, he needs to stop the water before it gets to his property.
I'll put the trench in, I'll pull out the 25 trees, then we'll see what happens to his property. That's not the way to
Well,
go.
maybe- Yeah.
But then you're gonna have a conservation issue.
Well,
Ju-
what-
Just to let you know that,
So-
that's a
Right, there's
whole,
multiple
that's a whole
boards
can
that
of
are
worms
gonna be
right there. I
involved in
just
that,
wouldn't,
so.
just be aware of that if that's
I just
kinda-
wanted to know the goal,
You
the
know.
ultimate
I-
goal.
I won't go to that extreme, but
Okay,
I told him, I said, if I rip out those trees, you have zip privacy. I don't care. So, anyway,
well, we'll at least
invite him and
invite him
have
to
a
the next
discussion with him
meeting.
and see if we can talk to him and see what the rationality is about this.
will that be at the next meeting, or is this a,
Next meeting, unless he wants to resolve it before then,
how can he resolve it?
by reconsidering and coming to you and when you ask.
I put a trench on the other side of my property, about 65, 70 feet. It cost me a few hours of digging and 1 yard of stone, so that's not too expensive. If this, I would still be willing, if he puts in a trench, I'd meet him halfway, as long as he stops that water, that's all.
It's more than fair.
What year did he, alter his property that it affected you?
He didn't. He bought this property, already done.
Oh,
He bought the property in 2010. Anderson, Whipple Construction was building, built the house. And everything went up.
so was that in like 2009? What year was that?
No, the house, I believe, was built in probably 2005.
But has this water been happening since that time,
Right along.
all along, since,
Well, I used to have my whole side, which you saw, was all bark mulch. Little by little, the bark mulch washed down and ended up in Lake Singletary. So I put in stones. Now, the stones have been washed and moved, and the water still continues. And it's all surface water, it's not underneath, all surface runoff. We have 7 plowable snowstorms. Snow is piled 5-6 feet at the end of the driveway, which they have concrete blockers. It melts, it can't go forward, it goes to the left. That's my system right there. Okay? I thank you for your time.
Thanks for
Anything else?
coming in.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
we'll see what we can do for next meeting, that's all.
When's that?
Or the end of July, maybe.
Okay,
We'll stay in touch with you.
I'll be around. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you for coming.
We should send him a letter requesting his presence or for him to come in and
The only thing is, he's not mandated to come in.
he's not, but I mean, we should really get a copy of those plans. I find it hard to believe that it was designed like that. I think maybe there was some additional filling that went on or
But I'm just wondering now, I mean, I thought maybe this was just something recent,
Well, I thought so too.
I
I
did
thought the
too.
last time he was here, he said since the driveway was paved, it's
That's
gotten
kind
a
of
lot
what I
worse.
was impressed, you know. I didn't realize that this is, you know,
From the previous owners.
what the driveway was put in from the previous owner?
Well, the builder,
That's-
it's the
yeah,
builder.
the builder.
It's
Oh,
the
okay.
builder. So I understand this guy bought that house that way, but it's still, he bought the issue, he bought the problem. He needs to take it up with the builder.
Hmm.
Not him, the owner.
Right, right, right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he still needs to adjust it. He can't flood the neighbor's property.
Okay, King's Campground.
Margaret's reviewing now.
Alright. Not again. Well, Title V fee schedule. What do we wanna do? Can we get a firm date, maybe, that everybody will be back and we can actually get it done?
But we were waiting for Margaret to come on board, right? So should we have to bring her to a meeting, I guess, to discuss it? Or give her
I mean,
something to
we
review?
can, talk about it maybe in September or something. I mean,
She has our regs to review and
Yeah.
stuff, right?
She does, but she's just, acclimating to the
She's
whole
just-
thing with wells is very new to her.
yeah. She's just getting up to speed too, just, you know, trying to coordinate all, everything as far as
Well,
inspections.
that's the
and-
well reg, the Title V regulations you deal with. I mean, that,
We can have her review them and maybe just come to the to the meeting in September and just see what she has to say about them.
Do the fees have to be a public meeting?
yes.
Yeah.
So can we discuss them and figure them out and then go to public meeting, or do we have to have the whole discussion?
Yeah, we just
No,
can't
you
make a
can do that.
decision on it, right?
Because if we can knock one or two of them out of the way, that'd be nice.
Mm-hmm. What do you wanna knock off first, fees?
What made
That'd
it
probably be
money?
the easiest, because that's something that we can all discuss,
Okay.
work
Right, we
on.
gotta adjust the fees anyway for
For a lot of
services
things.
being done.
I would imagine that you would have some sort of idea of what you would want for those fees to look like.
Well, I think
Well,
also
yes.
we've kind of like see what the other towns are charging, just to kind of make sure that we're all in the same ballpark, things like that.
Right.
And I don't think we've adjusted our fees for, it's been a good couple of years, several years. So to get all the fees from the different towns and maybe get them to you. How about if we get the fees for the next meeting from the different towns, give them to you, and you can review them for the month of August meeting, then we can come back and just maybe tackle them. That way you've got the fees to look at from other towns as our own,
Okay.
and then go from there. I can have, please.
Yeah, I mean, we need to establish some fees that we don't even have fees in.
Well, that,
place for.
exactly, and I think if you look at other towns, you'll see what they have for fees and say, oh, we don't have that, or we don't need that, things like that. So I'll just get maybe a dozen or so towns in the general area, what their fee schedule is, and then, give them to you, and then you guys can make comments,
Yeah, I mean, like the Title V fee, we don't have any fees for Title V.
no, we don't.
Which we should. I mean, just the filing fee alone. I mean, you guys have to handle it and process it and
Right.
file it. So there should be a fee there.
And now we're gonna have fees for Margaret, which we never had before.
Right.
From Jim, so, and where are you gonna capture that money,
Right.
so,
Got it.
yeah. All right, so we'll have, some fees for you to look at.
Yeah, we
We'll
just
give them to
tackle
you at the
that
next meeting in July,
That way we can
then you
set
can
a
review
public
it and we
hearing.
can talk about it in August. Is that fair enough?
Yeah.
Okay. You good with that?
Not really, but
When you do September? Well,
it's fine.
let's see. Just- okay.
Okay.
How many towns do you wanna look at? I mean, can we help you with that, or?
We'll just do the surrounding towns
Okay.
locally.
Other business not anticipated?
I'll give a quick department update. Finishing up end of fiscal year things. New permits are going out for food, things like that. Ray has finished up, I think, most of his food inspections. Police station is moved. I don't know if you're aware of that fully or not.
Yeah, got a parking spot now.
Yeah.
What are they doing with that structure? What are they doing
With the what?
with that building?
EMS and fire. So,
The Board of Health should have taken it over.
what's that?
Board of Health should have had it. Get out of the closet.
Camp season up and running.
How's that going?
She's got a perma smile.
The binder.
Yeah, it's going. I don't know. They haven't returned my phone call. I did get a call from the new CEO of the Y. So,
Who?
David Connell, something like that.
What did he want?
Cornell? Is it Cornell?
Connell, Connell. So, had a nice conversation with him. I've left a voicemail for both the executive director, Pamela Supranant, who was here a few years ago, as well as the assistant camp director who I've been working with. I haven't received a return phone call from either one of them today. They want to open up camp on Monday. So,
They knew they were gonna open up camp like last year too, right? I mean, it's funny how every year.
yeah. Just FYI real quickly, last week there was a webinar or a conference call, whatever, with the head of DPH, Monica Burrell, and unfortunately I was out doing another camp inspection, and but they had talked about CBD and food additives and things like that, and a lot of confusion, a lot of regulations. The FDA is not an approved, CBD in food sources is not an approved source according to the FDA. So a lot of people don't understand that, so there needs to be some clarification. I'd like to maybe have Cheryl Sabara, the attorney from the Mass Association of Health Boards, come and just do a topic and just talk about CBD and marijuana and this and that, because there's a lot of questions and concerns about CBD being sold over the counter in certain products and stuff like that, so.
Well, the non-THC,
Non-THC, correct.
and there's no problem with that.
Well, it says right here, that if you, I'm going to read the first thing to you. If a Massachusetts license or permit under 105 CMR, which is for food manufacturing, for food, is it to manufacture food, is it legal to add CBD to that food? No. Massachusetts Public Health regulates food manufacturing in the Commonwealth. These regulations require that all food must be from an approved source that comply with federal, state, and local law, and not contain any prohibitive ingredients. The FDA has concluded that federal law prohibits the addition of CBD to food products because CBD is an active ingredient in FDA-approved drugs. Since CBD is not an approved ingredient under federal law, it may not be added to manufactured food. So,
But get it then.
exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't get it.
How are they gonna sell?
The brownies, the
Right,
cookies, the
but there's
lollipops, gummies, I don't know. So there's a lot of confusion about that.
In that CBD, the gummies with the non-THC, and they're saying in there that the CBD is the active ingredient, when in fact it isn't. It's THC that's the active ingredient for. So the CBD is supposed to have all sorts of good
Right.
properties between oils and sobs and gummies, but have no THC in it.
Yeah,
So let me read another one quickly for you. I have a Massachusetts permit under 105 CMR 590, which is for food establishments, as a food establishment. Is it legal to add CBD to food I distribute it at retail? No.
Yeah, we should have that lady come in then.
Yeah, I think they're
So
not
this is-
clarifying CBD and CBD with THC.
Yeah. So anyways, that's why they said this happened on Thursday. A lot of people had a lot of confusion about this. I need to get it clarified. We printed a couple things off, and hopefully down the road. Not that we have anything in town selling this or that, but, I know, it's confusing. Also, just real quickly, we did have a tobacco, we were part of a tobacco coalition of 20-odd, some odd towns, through Worcester, which was our host agency who ran the tobacco program. Just to let you know that they're no longer providing that service. They're doing compliance checks.
Gonna do
Good
our own.
Where, yeah, they're dropping us. They're dropping all the towns, so.
Did they lose out on the budget?
Oh, they have a reduction in their budget, and they're just gonna focus on what their coalition of their regional 6 towns
It's
is.
kind of tough with the whole vaping thing as well.
Exactly. So, but I'm going to a meeting tomorrow at 9, so maybe they'll have some resources for us to follow up on and things like that. More news to follow.
Step forward, 2 steps back.
That's it.
Okay, anything else?
That's all I have to say for tonight.
7:30. Any
Thank you.
motions that want to be entertained?
Next meeting,
Oh.
next meeting,
Always forget.
the 23rd.
23rd of July.
What island are you on?
Islands.
He's not telling you, Judy.
I'll try. I'd say yeah for now, but
We haven't scheduled anything in our lives past Billy's wedding.
When?
The whole, the 6th of July.
All right.
This Mr. Mullins' son, who came
Oh.
last time, I think.
He's gone.
Already done?
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you.
You want to know how we?
We told him we were gonna send a letter to the neighbor and request that he come in.
Did he give you the details about?
Just got out of work.
Okay, well, he presented to the neighbor to build that, what's it called again?
Trench.
Trench. And the neighbor said no. And said that he could build it on his own side. And he doesn't want to do that. But so we said, well, maybe we can get the other side in to at least talk to them, but we really can't make them come.
No.
And we can't make him really kind of do anything. He also presented a letter from the other guy's insurance company that showed that it was an act of God and that it's
It
gonna.
wasn't an engineer that did that.
So there's nothing really.
We're gonna try to get him to do something. I mean, he can't flood out your father's septic system or his
Right.
property.
Yeah.
He's got to control his runoff.
Right. But it
Yeah.
might come down to a civil matter if he says no. We have no leg to stand on.
Not from the health board.
All we can do is request and tell him that he can't be doing that. So. You know, and he bought the place like that for say, so that's between him and his builder.
But he inherited the problem.
Right. He
And
owned.
he's
He
not-
bought it.
yeah.
He bought the property. So.
Right.
He said
But
he-
parking the vehicles up on the side of the property and his driveway settlement.
So
Yeah.
there's issues there that he really needs to take care of. So we're gonna let him know that they need to be addressed and see what his plan is.
You can't make someone do the fair and right thing, unfortunately. You know.
Yeah, but what's being done to my father is not fair and right either.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. I'll go talk to him. Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
You too.
Isn't that in the folder, the abutting property, right there, that thick one with the rubber band?
Oh, the plan?
I thought it was their septic, not that.
Underneath.
Thick folder
The
underneath.
folder with the on the bottom.
Yeah. Is that the other
Yeah, I'm
abutting
not sure.
property?
Marsh Road?
Yeah.
25.
Who's the owner? Is it Anderson?
Fox Environmental. 06. side he's on. This is driveway. Existing driveway. Proposed driveway.
He must be on this side then.
Yeah, he's gonna be over here. Looks like it's not a buffer zone, so that's just a silt fence. Proposed 2-bedroom house. It's hard the way they have it all overlaid. You can't tell what he added and what he. Assuming this is what he. Well, this is the as-built, so it didn't go in exactly where it went. It would take some going through and looking at all the elevations to see what they did. I mean, there's no drainage designed over there. He's got a retaining wall here for his septic system. Nine, so it's shedding away from the house towards the Marsh Road. Is how they have it designed with a retaining wall, so it's not shedding towards his property. But what did the driveway and all that do? I mean, we would have to see that grade, the house plans and stuff for that. The septic, they have it grading towards Marsh Road, with a retaining wall on this guy's side of the property. So they,
Is Marsh Road a private road? do you know?
that I don't know.
I think it is.
So I mean, we did the right thing by looks as far as our shedding water, as far as the house being built, grading in the yard that was changed. Again, there was an existing house here, so did they raise the grade from?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this shows the proposed house that wasn't even built.
All right.
So the 2030, I'll take it.
Yeah, if there's a problem, I'll let you know.
Now, John won't be here in July and August.
Okay,
Okay.
so make a motion to.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Adjourn.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bill, I think you have something in the box, in the mailbox, if Judy didn't take it out.
That was my copy, wasn't it?